Good morning, Uganda Extra. Now, this is a special Monday for many Ugandans, more so those in the business community who have been doing business with Rwanda and using the Katuna border post, which was closed closer to 3 years. And today is the official reopening. And I want to tell you later on in this very program, we'll be heading there where our reporter Robert Onyango is already at the scene to give you events as they're unfolding. Over the weekend, there was so much excitement. Actually, I was speaking to one of my friends who told me that even booking a bus to Uganda now, most of the buses have already been booked to start off their destination for today when the border is fully and finally opened. I've seen a couple of clips coming in from colleagues that are around that area, and it's all joy and excitement as this other entry and exit point between Uganda and Rwanda will be reopened. But I'm not alone. I'm with the man, Jagenda Semakula, with whom we are going to be discussing, first and foremost, the economic relevancy, because we know border trade is basically aiming at making money. What has this meant that time it has been closed? And of course, what are we anticipating now that has been opened? Jagend.
Yes.
I love your tie.
Thank you very much. Good morning. You look very smart, lovely, and very charming on a Monday morning like today, at the end of the month. Yeah, and I think it speaks volumes for a monthly salary earners like yourself when you're very charming on a Monday like today. For people
as I'm expecting my midterm benefits only if I'd clocked that age.
Well, you are accumulating
because now
them.
it's a month almost gone.
You are accumulating them. So every other day that goes, it pushes you and it moves you closer to that. But good morning to all our viewers this morning, and good morning everybody watching UBC TV today.
Well, Jagenda, it has been 3 years, and of course, one time we had hopes, a year passed. The other, recently, there were all signs that now we believe this border will be opened, and today is the long awaited for reopening. Let's first begin looking at the economic implication of this, because for many Ugandans, it is all about making money.
Well, thank you very much. Now, as an advocate of regional integration, I am an advocate of regional integration. You work with an organization, a youth organization called the African Mashariki First. And in that organization, what we advocate for is the integration of the community, East Africa's community. And so when these things keep happening here and there and in different partner states, of course they affect the good spirit of integration. What we see today is, of course, also history in its own making. Now, nobody would imagine and nobody would think that Uganda and Rwanda would actually even get to this collision course for 3 years. Now, we talk about a border that was closed in February 2019, just being reopened today. Everybody is discussing it. It's a new dawn. It's a good thing and a good day to go by. Now, when you talk about the economic impact, when you look at the continent of Africa, we have regional blocks, and we have about 8 of these. ECOWAS, SADC, we have the ESC and others. Now, many of these blocks are coming together specifically for economic integration, economic reasons. That's why we talk about the political federations as the tail end of the processes. And when you look at what is happening is the East African community has actually gone further. It has made better strides and more strides than all the other regional blocks. And one of those is because it had opened up to trade and for trade amongst themselves. That's why a community that started ideally as Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, it grew to Rwanda, Burundi, it opened up to South Sudan, Somalia is applying, the DRC has been incorporated, and Ethiopia is also coming, because when you look at the treaty, it spells, some people may say, now why do you bring in Congo, why do you bring in Ethiopia, why would you bring in, and eventually it spreads. But of course, when you look at the treaty and who qualifies to be a member, is you must actually have a border connecting to one of the countries that are already in the community. So because the East African community has grown more than these others, ECOWAS, SADC, and etc., you would actually think that when you see this animosity between Rwanda and Uganda, or maybe Kenya and Tanzania, it affects the spirit of coming together. It affects the spirit of togetherness or integration. So when you look at what is actually happening today, you will notice that it has cost us a lot in terms of businesses, especially for people who do cross-border trading. And now the issues that should be addressed, or that we should start probing into, we now need to start asking questions of will these two partner states, will these two countries, Uganda and Rwanda, find means of compensating the people whose businesses were affected for all this time, for all this while, for all the time that the borders have actually been closed. Now, to the business community, yes, this is a good thing to get by. But how about the 3 years that we've had when the borders have been closed? What will happen? So you will notice that Rwanda, on their part, actually counting losses. Uganda is doing the same thing because of the effect that the closures brought. But by and large, like I said, it's a new dawn that when we see the borders reopening, then of course it's reopening up for economics, it's opening up for culture, social interactions, but above all, it's opening up for trade, for business, and of course for improving the lives of the people, especially who do cross-border trading and the people who live around or along the borders.
Let's look at cooperative advantages that countries have, because much as we talk about integration, many a times we've seen a threat to integration now is protectionism at the same point, where at one time we saw our dairy products, us with our brothers and sisters in Kenya, one time where they were saying, but you're also equally producing this. So as we move for this integration, how do countries best position themselves? We were once in South Sudan, we had a huge number of Ugandans doing border work. The Sudanese woke up one day and said no. But this we can do. Why do we have these people here? And remember that exodus of those people coming back to Uganda here. So much as we crave for this, and it seems the way to go, how best do we ensure that countries identify what they can do best and what others cannot do, so that we use these examples to push this integration? We once had every hotel here in Uganda occupied by Kenyans in top management, and some of these. So how do we really know the weaknesses, the strength, and build on this to push economically?
Firstly, you know, when you talk about a private-led sector, private sector-led businesses are profit-oriented. They want to do business and they want, of course, to get profits. You won't stop me from employing Echirabo Nyonyi Ntono, who is from Kenya or from Tanzania, if he's a nasty businessman and he can actually deliver for me. I am not compelled to employ somebody because he's another Semakolo, another Jagenda, even when I'm going to make losses in this business. But yet again, you talk about the comparative advantages. I think this is why we have the Private Sector Foundation, for example. That's why we have units like the Uganda National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. That's why we actually have ministries like the Ministry of Trade, Cooperatives and all that. That's why we have ministries. That's why we have departments like Investment Authority and all the others. One of the things that they need to do is look at what do we have that they do not have, because by opening up or coming together for this integration, it is not really to stifle the other, but to broaden the market. For example, if you have 6, 7, 10 million people in about 11 million people in Rwanda, and you have 45 million people in Uganda, then the two countries combined give you a majority of 50 million. Now you need to think and see what trade can we do with the 50 million population, and I think that's why that is really why it is. So we shouldn't think stifling one another by saying, okay, when we open up the borders, then Rwandese will come and ride. We open up the borders, then Rwandese will come and ride border. They will come and work in our hotels. We'll go to the other side and also maybe ride borders and all the things. I think there are bigger things that we can get into by saying, even if you decided to say, okay, they have milk, we have milk, but how much milk can we produce? How much milk can they produce? how much milk do we produce and how much of a market do you actually need? And of course, there's several other things. That's why these organizations, the private sector foundations, should actually help us to leverage on what we think, what are our advantages. We don't have to have everything. We do not have to trade in everything. We do not have to get into everything. There are certain things that we know that we have a comparative advantage over as Ugandans, and say, here is where we are. Let's get on with this thing and make sure that it goes across, maybe to Kenya, to Tanzania, to Sudan, and everything. We shouldn't just think about taking border borders to Juba, for example. If they have border borders, then what don't they have that we can actually take there? What don't we have that they can actually bring over to us here? And I think this is a conversation that all of us need to get into, as opposed to feeling threatened that when we open up, they will come and do this and take it away from us, or they will come and do this and take it away from us. We're having a very good a tourism industry that is actually growing, and you talk about the hotels and all the things. Now we've had we having this industry growing, the hotels and all the things, and many. We now have quite a lot of institutes and schools that are teaching us hotel management and stuff like that. And I think we are steadily improving and getting there. In 2001, I think, when we hosted the first what Smart Partnership Conference here. I think it was at the Sheraton Hotel. And at that time, Sheraton, I think, was our best. 5-6 years later, we hosted Togam here, and we now had the likes of Speak Resort Munyonyo. We had quite a number, which of course making our tourism industry better, bigger, and of course also opening up for employment of different people in that industry. So it shouldn't cause worries to us, but we just need to look at what we think we can trade with our partners when we have the opportunity to trade and do cross-border trading.
We have to look at what best we can trade. We earlier told you that we'll be having Robert Onyango and Dennis Goa will be joining us right from that is Gatuna border as it opens today. And of course, this is a moment of excitement for many people here in Uganda, and of course our brothers and sisters in Rwanda. Let's speak to Onyango right now. A lovely morning to you, Onyango.
Lovely morning to Mr. Jagenda. And it is a cold morning here in Kabale district after a heavy downpour which happened last night. Right now we are at Gatuna border trying to follow out and give you an update on whatever is happening here in as far as opening this border, which has been out of operation for nearly now 3 years since its closure in February 2019. And this all came after a disputed or unanticipated rivalry between Uganda and Rwanda. But the good news is that this is finally coming to reopening after the two governments have agreed to at least restore their working relationship. As you all know, yesterday the first person to cross from Uganda was the former African Development Banker, Managing Director and Minister for Finance from the Rwandan side, and that was Donald Kaberuka. He was attending the burial services for the late Governor Bank of Uganda, Professor Emmanuel Tumusime Mutebile, which was happening last night in Kabale district. Business here seems to be ready to go on. As you can see, there are a variety of preparations here. Here in my background, you can see journalists from either sides are also trying to follow up this memorable moment of the reopening of the Gatuna, that is the Rwanda-Uganda border, which is officially opening today, though we are told some people were allowed to cross from yesterday, and it will be business as usual in the coming days. You can see from the other ends of Rwanda, they seem not to be hesitating or even untempered with anything, because they seem to be ready. But the Ugandan side, as you can witness, they seem to have been caught unaware since there's a variety of constructions going on. The roads, paving, the construction here, they are trying to construct, I think these are the urinals for short course and long course. The Uganda Revenue Authority is also trying to organize their facilities ready for business. The business community around here at the border, especially from the Ugandan side where we have managed to at least have a cross check, the business seems to have been lowered to nothing. the situation seems to have not been good for the past 3 years. As you can see, the construction from the Ugandan side is taking course, and we expect these construction works, I think if they have been slow in the movement, now it is time for them to up their game, since now business will be flowing in from here, and we expect them to at least be preparing to receive both goods and services from either countries, that is from Uganda and Rwanda. We have managed to at least interact with some of the officials from the Ugandan side, especially from the Uganda Revenue Authority and the Ministry of Health. There was a tent somewhere here where the Uganda Revenue Authority and the Ministry of Health are trying to organize, and that's where they will be carrying on COVID tests for travelers or for business community members from the other ends of Rwanda and Uganda. So that's the situation still here. The place seems to be under reorganization, as we all know that it has been under no operation for the last 3 months. So we expect that this is a good gesture from both the two countries. And yesterday, when the Rwandan envoy to Uganda, who represented His Excellency Paul Kagame during the burial of the late Professor Mutebile, made it clear that the Rwandan government is very now committed to restore its good working relationship with Uganda, and even the Ugandan government was also giving in an assurance, especially from the former Premier Dr. Nduguru Hakana Rugunda, saying Uganda is also ready to restore that harmony, to ensure that the two countries, the two citizens of Rwanda and Uganda continue working together, because they take Ugandans and Rwandans as one citizen, being the fact that they are from the East African community. Rwanda has been part of the liberation struggles in this sense. Uganda has as well played that role of liberating Rwanda. And so everyone feels there's no need to be at war, or even not to cement this hospitality of working together as two nations which are in the East African community, and most especially driving the working relationship not only for Rwanda but the entire region. So, Mr. Jagenda, this is the field currently at the Rwandan border, and I'm just pressing to see if I can get my colleague Dennis Sugoa. Seems to be very, very much aware with the business perspective of this area, and he can shortly share with us an insight on how he feels about the reopening of this border this morning. You seem to have been in this place earlier. What was the situation before its closure?
No, of course I've been here before, and since I cover infrastructure development projects, I came here and business as well. That was back in 2019, I think, on the day of, I would say, the closure, when the trucks were being diverted back to Mirama, Kajitumba. I was here. And there was a lot of traffic jam here. And of course, there was speculation that the border is just being worked on, only later for the information to come through that actually the borders have been closed and temporarily, but after a few months it looked like it will be, the borders were permanently closed. And of course, you know, the issues kept on trickling in of what was the cause of the border closures. But today is a special day, I think, for generally not for Uganda and Rwanda, but basically for the entire East African community, because the East African community, the purpose of East Africa EAC community is to empower the communities. And then if we have what I would say, I'll pick it from the recent joint Permanent Commission conference that was in Kampala, where I would say the Minister of Foreign Affairs, that is Jeje Odong, referred to Tanzania and Uganda as sisterly countries. This is the same applies for Rwanda and Uganda. We are sisterly countries, or brotherly, I would say so, and we share a lot in common, because where we are standing, this is a no man's land. Just a few meters behind us, that is Rwanda. Then, of course, the other side, a few meters the other side is Uganda. Of course, there's a lot of expectation from the local communities. When you came here, I would say it is more of a dead town so far. If you look at the doors of the shopping, some of the shops there, some shopping centers, there's nothing that has been happening for quite some time. You can see there are cobwebs, but hopefully in the next coming, in the few weeks or probably months, the business will return to normalcy, and that will be very important. There's a high expectation, but of course, basing on the fact that this border has been closed for about 3 years, there's a lot of skepticism, you know. And if you look at our side of the border, you also realize there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Just if you see across just a few meters behind us where our URA truck is parked, that is complete. It's the border has been worked on. It's really neat. But this other side, you can see, if at all a bus is coming from the other side and it's crossing to this side, it can be a very difficult time to cross over because it's still, it looks like there's a lot of work that is ongoing in terms of maybe tarmacking or tiling and stuff like that. And I think now that the border has been, the border is going to be open today, this needs to be worked on as fast as possible.
Okay, Mr. Dens, just lastly from you, in the business perspective, who has been the best loser for the last 3 years?
I like your question. I doubt if there is a best loser or a best winner here. But I think generally all countries have lost a lot. But if you look at the trade between Uganda and Rwanda, you realize that Uganda was earning probably 4 to 5 times more than Rwanda. So basically, in this whole stalemate of 3 years, Uganda has lost a lot. And if to look at the statistics, the BOU statistic between 2015 and 2018, Uganda had earned about 4 trillion shillings. 4 trillion shillings from its exports to Rwanda, and Rwanda earned about 257 billion shillings. So, and trade has been growing. So basically that means that if the situation was the way it was supposed to, at the rate at which the exports were growing, that means maybe if you go to the estimate, Uganda might have lost a lot of money due to the closure. And definitely, it shouldn't be an event. That's what I think, because we are used to events whereby you come and cut a ribbon and then walk out of the event, and then that is it. I think besides just reopening the border, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. There are businesses that have collapsed that probably will need a shot in the arm for them to recover. And you know, there's a lot of investment as well from the World Bank, the Trademark East Africa, who have spent a lot of money in upgrading this infrastructure. And I'm sure they really want to see this border going back to normalcy and empowering the local community, because it is one of the major crossing point for, of course, business, a trade. Let me say it's a business point for this, not Rwanda and Uganda, but generally the entire region, because this road you see here goes all the way to as far as Congo as well. It can as well take you to Burundi. Depending, the other side of Kajitumba can take you to the other side of Rwanda, of Tanzania. But a lot needs to be done. Of course, the politicians have to do their work. We look at the business community have to do their work. But all the differences need to be ironed. We need amicable resolutions to the differences, and when all that is done, I think people get courage. You know, right now, I think last night I went to a Volcano bus station, and I tried to inquire if they are resuming the operations. They are saying, first of all, they are monitoring the situation on ground. So after all that, we expect things will go back to normal. It might take time, but definitely we have a lot. Uganda and Rwanda share a lot in common, and this might be the beginning of the better times.
Wow, yeah. Thank you, Dennis Isgoa. That is my colleague, Dennis Isgoa, trying to throw in his insight in as
Robert.
Memorable reopening of the border between Uganda and Rwanda, that is Katuna. Mr. Jagenda, for now, we can hold it here as we stay.
Maybe before we let you go, Onyango,
we get whatever.
are you able to get us?
We want to know whether it is
I don't know if Onyango can get us very
Uganda.
well, but at least. Hello, Onyango.
Back to you.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Robert Onyango and Dennis Sigowa, who are at the border there, that is Katuna border, at the day of reopening, which is today. And of course, it seems to be having some bit of activity there. But my question was, yes, we know it's been opened, but when you look at the Rwanda side, Still seems there's activity and preparation. Back to Uganda side, I didn't observe so much of activity, taking the unpreparedness to usher in those that are coming in, and now also have been able to speak to a number of the people of the business community. They seem skeptical, wondering, let's first observe.
No, I don't think there is actually anything to observe. All of them have agreed. And this is something that we've all wanted and waited for. Remember when the borders were closed in February 2019, there was an MOU that was signed that same year, sometime around August, September, in that year where we saw the two presidents, Uganda, Rwanda, and of course, the Angolan head of state mediating those talks. And what I noticed from that was there were competing interests. Now, Uganda's side was more focused on the economy and the economics of it. The movement of persons and, of course, the cross-border trade that is happening between the two countries. And on the other part, our counterparts in Rwanda were actually very preoccupied by issues of security. Now, remember that the closure of the borders came as a result of accusations and counter-accusations. One party was saying that you are actually spying on us. Now, that's my country, Uganda. You are spying on us. You are doing these things and doing espionage on us. Now, the other part was also saying you are also supporting rebel activities to destabilize our peace, our security in our own country. Now, these were the issues, of course, that caused the clash and, of course, eventually seeing the borders closed. Now, when we come into negotiations, these are competing interests that all of us had to actually get to. Remember that when you look at the protocols of the East African community, now, cross-border movement is one of the things. It's actually a pillar. In 2017,
free movement of goods and persons.
Movement of goods and persons, and of course, in a way. Now, you saw when President Dr. John Pombe Magufuli, the light of the United Republic of Tanzania, came to Uganda in 2017. When he came at the Mtukula to commission the place called yes, of course, the most important thing I think was because the EACOP meeting or the ECOP meeting had actually happened in Tanga in August, but in November, President John Pombe Magufuli comes to Uganda at a place I think called Luzinga to lay the foundation stone or where the pipeline will actually cross to go to Bukoba and eventually to Tanga. But one of the activities that was done there was the opening of the one-stop border post at Mutukula, which is of course very good for business and trade. We saw President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni do the same thing in Busia, at Busia with President Muigai Kenyatta of Kenya. We've seen this happening now. What this does is it makes it easier for Jagena to cross over to go to Kenya, or for another Chacha to move from Tanzania to maybe Uganda. And this is actually what should be happening, or this is what we expect to see even at the Katuna border. In 2017, I flew and went to Germany. I attended the Berlin Marathon, and of course on that same day there were elections, rather that same time there were elections when Chancellor Angela was actually being given her fourth term. And when I was concluding my stay in Germany, I was now traveling. Now I moved from Berlin, came and boarded from Frankfurt. But when I go to the airport at the customs, the officer there asked me that when you were here, did you move out of Germany to go to any other country? And I said, no, I have been staying within. But the colleague I went with actually moved and went to Belgium, and I think he actually flew, and he drove on road, then went and picked a flight in Paris, in France. And the ease of that movement, because theirs is, when you talk about the European Union, is that's what it is. That's what it is. You pick a visa and they say once you have a Schengen visa, then you can actually go to this country and that country and that country and that country, and you're talking about 20 plus countries within Europe that you can actually freely cross to and go to them. Now that also brings business, it brings trade, it brings economics to the country, because if I get into German and I live in German for maybe a week, then the other day I pick a train and I cross from German and find myself go to maybe Switzerland, I am doing business. I am spending actually, because when I get to Zurich, when I get to Belgium or anywhere, I am spending a night in a hotel, I am eating there, I am doing all the things, I am buying a ticket, I am buying and purchasing and trading and doing all the things. The little euros that I will have on me will actually be spent to the, so I think this is the same spirit that we need to look to and downplay, of course, the little things and the issues. Yeah, they are actually not little, but I think by the time that we've now gotten to a point of saying, after 3 years, we have lost so much. We have lost so much in terms of trade, we have lost so much in terms of businesses, we have lost so much in terms of time. So we need to actually open up and see how to again relate, continue working. Look at these other regional projects, like when you talk about the standard gauge railway. You know, you look at it from where it starts, it comes, and it has more stages. It's actually longer in Uganda than it is elsewhere. So it has about 10 stopovers in Uganda before it gets to Mirama, and of course once it gets to Mirama, then the idea is actually crossing to go to Kigali and in Rwanda, just like you had Sigoa here saying.
So all these
yes, exactly.
bring
now,
out one thing, that basically it is all for economic gain. And these
that's what is most important.
That is what is most important, because that is the dream for our forefathers of this great union that Jagenda talked about as the strongest. If you look at regional integrations as of now, that, well, they looked at the huge population all these countries brought together, and they said, how do we make good use of this population? Is ensuring that there's free movement of goods and services, or goods and services and people in this area. And so today we see that this is one of the dreams where I've been having a few challenges, bottlenecks in terms of movement dealt with today. And we just pray and hope that actually we take advantage of this opportunity. Jagan has talked about how, for example, European Union, of course, there's a Brexit, but of course, these are some of the things that still they are handling very sensitively to ensure they do not cause harm to their vision previously. But in the interest of time, Jagan, let me have your concluding remarks as a reminder of viewers that we'll be giving you live feed all the time, all the updates you need. You can follow us on our social media platforms because these are there. Robert Onyango, Dennis Sigoa will be posting on all our social media platforms, our Twitter page. You can still get all of this. Let me have your last remarks.
Ruben, I beg your pardon. Chirago, good things are happening to us as a country and as a region. Tomorrow will be 1st of February, and tomorrow we'll also see our oil giants, of course, appending signatures, signing what they call the final investment decision. And of course, that means it will kickstart the processes of finding contractors to help us now build the pipeline, the 1,445-kilometer pipeline that starts at Kabale in Hoima to Tanga in Tanzania. Now, when you have the borders open today for that business, cross-border movement, trade, etc., etc., then tomorrow you are also signing an agreement. Now, you will notice that 16 years later, we first discovered oil in this country in 2006, and it has taken us 16 good years to actually even just get where it is. Now, to a common man, they think that once you say we have discovered oil, they think when you say we've discovered oil, then it is as if you've seen some lake like Victoria or another lake, Choga, or etc., Albert and all these things, and you will go get that oil, put it into the pump, then I come with my Bajaj, my TVS, my Boxer, my car, and fuel. Now, the processes of getting that into deliverable to Ugandans is what is very costly. But if tomorrow we are actually signing our FID, then I think that's also a very big plus to our lives as Ugandans and to the community itself, because what we're talking about, the oil that we talk about, is actually not just Uganda's oil, but we talk about a regional project that will not benefit on us, not only Tanzania, but even Rwanda, getting there. So I'm only thinking that very good things are happening to us, and let's watch and see what the year has as we continue believing God for our region's integration.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Jagenda Semakula. We've been looking at the reopening of the Katuna border, and of course it has been closed for about 3 years, and today is the day where we expect trade to blossom at this very particular time. Let's all ensure that we take advantage of these opportunities. Wherever you are, maybe you had put business to a standstill. Now a new day has come for you to kickstart over and again. And also pray and hope that we shall not have ever again such bottlenecks to the growth and development of the East African community. Have a lovely day.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala.